Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 122. You're here with Doug and Murph. Thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be sharing our thoughts on the entirety of The Last of Us Season 2. So, if you have not watched, or if you've not completed the season yet, I would recommend not watching this episode because we are going to be talking about spoilers. We'll also be resuming our regular episode updates on our latest box office pool. So today we'll be discussing how our summer box office pool is shaping up so far based on the month of May. Lastly, for some fresh content, check out the return of our yearly film series only on YouTube. We'll be resuming with 2022 and discussing some films from a few years back that we didn't cover in depth during that time, including Corey's pick that he made a very long time ago before we kept pushing the recording of the segment back for time week after week after week. But as you know, sadly, we learned more than ever how little time is guaranteed after Corey passed, so he's not here to talk about his selection with us. However, we do have a special guest who will be joining us to talk about Corey's official pick for 2022, along with a pick we all felt appropriate for Corey during both 2023 and 2024 in upcoming installments. His fiancee, Kate. She'll also share a slew of her favorite films from each of these years as well. We hope you'll check these films out after watching us talk about them. And then, as always, a friendly reminder before we begin, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to Live Breathe Film wherever you choose to listen to your favorite podcasts. We appreciate all your support. But all right, let's do it. Let's talk about The Last of Us Season 2, which was our most anticipated TV show of the year. And we agreed it would have been Corey's as well. So this is going to be a little disappointing because it was our most anticipated one, but it came out hot, but it ended in a way that I don't think either of us were too pleased and kind of left a little poor taste in our mouth. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, maybe let's talk about the beginning because I think that's probably the most positive. That's one of the more positive areas, like you just said.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, because we were pretty high on it when the season was kicking off.
yeah, I mean, I think the
Or the
most important
majority
thing.
of the season, we were fairly positive.
Yes,
So yeah, but let's start
maybe.
with the Jackson um, episodes.
Yeah, so I thought a change from the game that I thought was really cool is with episode one, you get to see a lot more of Jackson and how Jackson works than I remember ever experiencing in the video game. I mean, it's granted it's been a little bit, but um, I thought that was a change that the creators made that I really dug was just getting to spend more time in Jackson, seeing Joel's life in Jackson, seeing how the town of Jackson operates. I thought all that, and that's a lot of that's in episode one, um, and somewhat in episode two. But I thought all that was really cool, and I thought that was a change for the better and made sense for a TV show. Um, what about you?
Yeah.
Did you like that or?
So all right, I'm gonna have to talk about the season as a whole to dive into Jackson, and my overall thoughts. I would have enjoyed the episodes in Jackson if I knew if the season had been more, even in retrospect, if the season wasn't so short. But with 7 episodes and where they ended in after episode 7 in the season finale, it felt like they spent too much time in Jackson compared to what they should have spent in Seattle. Had the season been 9 episodes, like the season one, or if there were some longer episodes, like there were a couple 80-minute episodes in season one. If they did a couple 80-minute episodes in Seattle, I think I would have liked the 3 episodes more in Jackson. It was the third episode where I really felt it like, all right, we're lingering too much. Um, like we should be on our way to Seattle. Like at the towards the beginning of the episode, you should be in Seattle by at some point. Like not When did they get to Seattle? They saw Seattle was like in the background in the end of the third episode, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they should have. I feel like they should have been in. I did not like the whole voting on whether they should go or not. That was my biggest beef with episode three. It was they made some changes from the video game. In the video game, there's not like a 3 month period where Ellie's recovering from nearly dying. It's more of a and also in the video game, Dina is not with Joel when Joel gets tortured and murdered. Um, Tommy's there. So in the game, Tommy immediately goes to Seattle right after, and then Ellie goes like a day or so later with Dina after she's recovered. I think changing it made numerous mistakes throughout the season, or made viewers look at Ellie in a different light than maybe gamers had. Um, and I think they were for the negative. Um, it kind of made it like she was just like a impulsive idiot for not following what the town wanted or voted on, and she was basically in the wrong for literally everything that she did. While in the game, she's following Tommy. So technically, it's a semi revenge slash rescue type of situation on making sure Tommy gets back safe instead of it just being her going out for revenge like an idiot, um, and everyone
Is it
being
an
like
idiot though?
having
I
to go
mean,
rescue.
her like father figure got brutally murdered by a mysterious person. Like, is it that unreasonable for someone to want to get revenge? Who cares what the town says?
Agreed on that part, um, but naturally, people go and follow her to go make sure that she gets back safely, which are resources that shouldn't have to go. Then she stays, despite having seen that they think that the wolves are going to be this small little group. They have more than enough evidence that they are a massive group. They see that the infected are way more dangerous than they are back in Jackson, despite Jackson just being destroyed by the infected because in Seattle they have the spores, which is something that they don't have anywhere else in the continental United States, as far as we know, in the TV adaptation. Um, then you have them being overwhelmingly excited about Dina being pregnant. They don't turn back. There's just count like so many reasons why it would they'd be like, oh, we should probably turn back at this point. And then Jesse basically gets to speak for the audience and be like, "You're selfish. Like, you like this was a like foolish decision on your part, and you can't really fight it because, unlike in the video game, because everything she did is was kind of stupid. Even if you can agree that yes, it is totally fair for her to have gone to want to get revenge, um, and also seeing that it's just incredibly dangerous in Seattle between the wolves and the Seraphites. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think that wasn't my. That's not the part I have an issue with because I understand the desire for just like revenge
Yeah,
and maybe a sense of justice. I think it's probably an easier sell on that point though. Had Ellie been portrayed as an angrier person and someone that
that too.
felt like they were wronged and wanted revenge and that they were kind of tunnel vision on revenge, I think that might have sold it a little bit more of like, okay, like, yes, they're making like irrational decisions, and yes, they're, um, maybe selfish, but you can understand why because their father figure had been killed brutally in front of them, and they need revenge. I think the Abby reveal was a mistake
Okay.
because it does kind of um, help lay out for everybody like who Abby is, and maybe makes the revenge piece look a little bit worse. Um,
Yeah, you can't.
because
You're
it,
saying you can't 100% get behind Ellie because like
yeah, and I
this
think the
person
audience,
wronged Abby in a
I think
similar
the
way.
audience should be behind Ellie more at this point.
I like how your question was posed as what were your thoughts on Jackson, and I immediately went into Ellie was written very poorly on this season of television.
I
Um,
mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, this is a kind of
yeah,
a,
no,
yeah,
it's just open conversation.
open discussion. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with like some of I think some of the choices they made. I think the Jackson showing more Jackson wasn't a problem for me. Like I said, I thought it was enjoyable to see Jackson. I agree with you. If they arbitrarily only had 7 episodes, then yes, they spent too much time in Jackson. But
Yeah,
I feel like that's hard to believe that they arbitrarily only had 7. I know Zaslav is a stingy motherfucker, but um, I don't know. They could have found a way to do more. I mean, there's lots of stuff you can think about in the show where they spent all this time on something that they didn't need to if they really only had 7 episodes to work with. Um,
yeah, because I mean we've talked about Joel having our big thing before the season, like going back into when season one ended. It was all right. So when are they going to kill Joel? How quickly are they going to do it? And
yep.
we were very much like they need to do it pretty quickly. Like it's the catalyst of the entire game is Joel's murder. So I
Yes.
think that we ultimately agreed episode two good. Um,
Perfect. Yeah. Because you had to let everyone remember Pedro, or like not Pedro, Joel and Ellie, like in that relationship. I think that was a necessity, especially based on how much time passed between seasons. Like you
mhm.
had to give us, okay, it's just gonna be another like season of Joel and Ellie doing their thing. Like you had to have that episode. That's episode 1 to kind of lull everybody into thinking that's what this season was gonna be. So I think that was right. I think that was a good call on their part.
But you don't like that they showed necessary, or it wasn't that the fact that they showed that there was danger on the horizon as far as Abby. It was the fact that we knew exactly what Abby had done or what Abby had gone through previously.
I still think it would have been better to just not present danger on the horizon.
Like it'd just be like she was a straight like Joel rescues this girl. We have no idea who she is. Although in the video
Yeah,
game, to be fair, you do play as Abby before Joel ever encounters her. You know that she's on some sort of a mission with her crew. You just don't know what her purpose is. Um, so either let's say either that or just he rescues her and we have no idea who she is.
I
You
think
would
you
have
could just rescue her and have no idea who she is. I think that honestly would have worked the best. Because then it's like, oh, cool, we got this new character coming on the show. They've been talking about this Abby character. Really excited to see like what she brings to the
yeah,
show.
and like this is a recognizable actress.
Right.
Um, and The Last of Us does great with guest stars. Um, like nearly every single one of them was nominated for an Emmy for season one, and there'll be plenty of them nominated for this one
Yeah.
as
I
well.
think personally I would have liked that better. Did this give it away? Apparently not, based on everyone that hasn't played the game. I think they thought Abby was going to be a villain. They didn't ever expect in their wildest dreams that Abby was going to execute
Her planet,
one of the
yeah,
two main characters.
exactly.
So like it didn't spoil it. I don't think we needed any of that stuff. We only if especially if we only have so much time to tell the story. Like I don't know that that really added much.
Fair. Um, yeah, so I think with as far as your Jackson question, I could have done with 2 episodes in Jackson. We could have both have died midway through. Um, the second episode and dealt with the fallout in the second half, maybe. Um, what do you think of the Battle of Jackson? Because that is not something in the video game. It seemed like it was brought in because people complained that there weren't enough um, infected in season one, and they're like, "All right, let's give you a big Game of Thrones action scene."
I mean, if someone said, "Hey, you can trade this in for more episodes," I would trade it in for more episodes because I
Yeah,
think there's more story to tell. But I thought the battle was like produced really well. Like I thought it was well shot, well executed. Like it was a fun battle to watch. So I thought it was well done. Um, was it necessary? Probably not. But it was. I thought they did a good job choreographing like this big castle siege, base or fortress siege.
hmm
Uh, I thought was cool. What about you? Kind of felt like Lord of the Ringsy.
yeah. No, I had a Battle of Helm's Deep type feel to it for sure. Reminded me of that and like Game of Thrones, like the White Walkers, like when they were over the wall, like middle, like I don't know, season 5 or 6, something like that. Not when they were. It was in pitch black and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, this was
Kudos
way
to
better than
the
that.
yeah, kudos to the Last of Us team for making the images visible for people watching.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I enjoyed the battle. I was like, oh, there someone actually maybe could die here, and then that could be more. Um, people would even be even more like misled about Joel's safety because probably won't kill two characters in one episode. Um, Tommy has multiple because Tommy has a kid in this, so unlike the video game, he's got more to potentially lose. So that definitely made me think that was a little bit more intense, or more intense than it would have been had it just been him and Maria. Um,
yeah,
but with him having a kid, I'm like, okay, Maria's could be an expendable character, um, and then that could keep Tommy from having to go to Seattle if Ellie does go first, which is eventually what happened. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. But yeah, like you said, would I cut it so they could have something bigger or more episodes in Seattle? Yes. Um, but it is what it is. What do you think about the episodes in Seattle?
um, I think it was kind of been a little bit of a mixed bag. More so in Seattle. I think the Jackson ones actually work better for me than Seattle. Um,
I would agree with that, which is weird considering that I've been harsh on Jackson.
yeah, the I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Seattle's kind of interesting in that it feels the most like a video game in some ways.
There are definitely scenes where it feels like a video game.
And the way that the characters like traverse Seattle also kind of feels like like what I mean by that is like we kind of like cut to places like in the interior, and it may be just a matter of like it's expensive to try to show like the city of Seattle and then walking around Seattle, but
Yeah.
it feels like they jump from like interior to interior, and um, the pacing feels like the worst, or feels not maybe not the worst is a bad word. It's a little bit too like where you say Jackson felt like we lingered too long. This is where you kind of feel like I think why you felt like Jackson lingered too long is because this is like
Speed
a little
running
too
in comparison
yeah. It's like speed run, and it like we went from like a nice slow steady pace, which is I think my preferred pace to be honest for
with the
TV
Last of
shows
Us
to
TV
like
show, especially the Last of Us TV show. It's
yeah just
they do better when they're at the slow pace.
yeah, and I just like to see things like kind of progress a little bit slower. And for this, it was just like it's very quick. We kind of like speed through scenes where it almost things that I want to feel more of like an impact. They don't let linger as long as I would like.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, Seattle's kind of weird for me in that it just feels the story things got a little weird in Seattle, um, and it feels off. And part of it is like the video gaminess of it all. Part of it is just like Ellie's character decisions start getting like weird, and she starts to get written weird, and
Yeah, they're a little uncharacteristic.
yeah, it's just yeah. Seattle's where I start to I actually enjoyed when we first arrived in Seattle, and that got me excited, and then
I
that
think each
following episode is where it starts to fall off. I
I
think
think each day in Seattle got worse,
yes,
which is the opposite of how it should have gone. Typically, like it should be getting more intense and exciting, and you should be enjoying it more as they're going on their journey. Um,
yeah.
Even though it gets bleaker and bleaker, and the decisions become more questionable, um, it should like a video game typically gets more fun and challenging as you're playing it, and this got more. This didn't have that same feeling to it. Um, and I think
No,
it was
and if you
because rushed so much, just hopping from one place to another, like you said, like it doesn't seem like there was much like traveling and like figuring out like where they needed to go, and I don't know.
it started reminding me, and I never said this to you, but I was thinking it started to remind me of like towards the end of Game of Thrones,
You're good. Yeah, before right before you said it, I was like, I have a feeling he's gonna say this, and you're right. Yeah,
where like it just felt like they were kind of like, oh, we have story, we need to just like
we need to
get
get to
it
this
over with.
location immediately. Um,
Yeah,
Fuck it. Like in the past, we would show you them get to here. We would spend two like 2 episodes trying to escape Kansas City, and this like will immediately get you from this part of Seattle to this part of Seattle.
yeah, it's just
While there is a huge like war between two factions going on, it should not be easy.
yeah, and like the Nora with the hospital, it was like, up, she's in the hospital, up, Nora's dead, up, she's out of the hospital, and it was like, what? Like the hospital like is this bigger set piece, and it felt like we were just like, we were there, Nora, they like check, Nora's killed, check, all right, we're
Yeah,
out.
like I get you can't have every set piece that's in the video game because a lot of them are like just in there for action gameplay purposes. But
Sure.
there's some that should absolutely be in there in a fuller form. The ones that are more narrative driven for being why they're in this location, and there weren't that many in the season as far as Ellie's POV, which is what we covered in this season. What are your thoughts about them having? Because I'm very mixed on this as well. There were a lot of stuff that was in Seattle that Ellie was not aware of, like or Dina was not aware of, but we were seeing that, and it's like teasing out things for next season. It was some of the strongest like material, like the stuff with
Like the
Jeffrey Wright,
like Isaac.
yeah, the stuff with Jeffrey Wright as Isaac. It was great to watch. It was in very fulfilling scenes, but I feel like they should have been in season 3 because
Yeah,
it just you go.
I was just gonna say like, yeah, it's interesting because the whole point of like shifting perspectives is to like like change your perspective and the things you see, and so they kind of like trying to have their cake and eat it too, where it's like we're still gonna do that perspective shift, but we're also not gonna like stick to one person's perspective.
No,
So it is kind of like it was a weird choice. I think when we first started seeing Abby, we thought like, okay, like they're not gonna do the two perspective things. They're just gonna like combine it into
yeah,
one cohesive story. Um,
no. Abby killed Joel, and then you don't see her to the last scene of the season.
yeah, so they didn't do that, and then I mean clearly they end it with showing like we're Abby and now you're in Abby's perspective for Seattle Day One. Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of wish they would have just picked one. Uh, I'm totally cool with getting Isaac's like getting the multiple perspectives, but and then just like combining it together, and it could just be its own unique thing.
Mhm.
Uh, the two perspective, yeah, I think I agree with you. It's either just like one or the other. Stop trying to have it both ways, where
Yeah,
you're
and I think
showing
that
us other.
like there's a lot of things where we're kind of like it should be one or the other, and they're kind of going for the middle version. Um, whether it's showing Abby and revealing her stuff, everything like her basically all her background, um, or showing other characters that should not be introduced until Abby's the main POV character.
Yeah, because showing her other perspective makes sense if she's going to be in the story, and you want us to empathize with her as well. But like to show us her stuff and then just be like, oh, she's not really in this story at all. It's like what was the point of that? Like you what why do I need to
I
empathize with this character right
Do
now?
you think it was all right? The official story is they did it so because you don't get to play as the character at all. You can't empathize with a character that you're not instantly playing as in a video game. Um,
It doesn't
and,
make sense to me.
and that they've said that, and they've said they didn't want to reveal it until season three because people would find out in between seasons two and three what the reason was. Do you buy that, or do you believe my tinfoil hat theory that it was because they didn't want people to hate Abby and Deaver immediately the same way that
Yeah.
game did?
Yeah,
With
that's before you said it, that's what I was thinking is probably the real reason.
yeah,
The other reasons don't really make sense to me. Um, what's weird though is that we're in this place and we've talked about it before where people don't seem to hate Abby.
no,
Um, they
I
hate
mean,
Ellie.
I know it's so we're in like the twilight zone, um, and I think it's the gamers more that are enjoying Abby now on TV, because they know it's
I,
going to come up next, but
I don't see like
I
anybody
mean,
hating on Abby online.
I don't see Abby hate. I see Ellie hate everywhere. Um, and it was the complete for anyone who did not play the game and did not see the disgusting conversation around this game back in 2020. It was the complete opposite. Everyone like behind Ellie, Lart. There were definitely people who were like, all right, Ellie, you've gotten to a point where you've gone too far." But it was like just hardcore hatred towards Abby and towards Laura Bailey, who did the mocap voice for her, which was horrible. Death threats, everything like that. So I think they were definitely like trying to avoid that. They cast an actress that people know and like, um, and then basically we're like, all right, audience, she has a reason for doing this. Like, yeah, Joel, like you love Paige or Pascal, you love Joel, but like he did this monstrous thing to her. Like, so don't hate her too much. Um, it certainly wasn't the ballsy move that they made with the video game. But TV audiences are different from video game audiences. We've said that before. I think a TV audience could handle not knowing the truth, and they can make it another season without knowing who Abby was. If they were able to make it to season two without knowing that Joel was going to die,
Right, and
so
they've
I
been
call
talking
bullshit.
about a character like Abby showing up. Like that's been talked about already. So like, if you were really interested in Abby,
You just look it
and
up.
oh, who's this Abby character? You would have looked it up already.
Yeah, I'll just look at Wikipedia. Who's this character? Oh shit. But once they see it, but yeah, I call BS on that. So I don't know who
But
would what. Yeah,
there's no way they anticipated the turn on Bella Ramsey though, because they.
and
I
it was.
mean,
We've talked about it. All right, there's definitely bad faith takes. Um, but there's criticism that's valid as well, and I don't think it's criticism that's valid towards you not liking her performance. I think it's criticism towards the writing for her performance. I don't think she was given.
Yes.
They made her too different from the video game in a way that did not necessarily work the same way the changes that they did to her in season one worked. Because in season one, she's a 14-year-old. In season two, she's a 19-year-old. And she still has the same, like, youthful, silly. They lean in too much on the fact that Bella Ramsey is a solid comedic performer. And they went too deep into that when she should have been in the vengeful, wrathful, like, this is a one woman army who is going to go through hell to find the person that tortured and killed her father figure, and it doesn't matter who comes between her, they're fucked. And that wasn't the
Yeah.
performance we got at all. So
No.
yeah,
But yeah, like you said, we talked about that. To me, that's like the
Caitlin
writing and
Deaver
the
has given
directing.
that. Caitlin Deaver gave that performance in the
Yeah,
three like episodes that we saw her in, totaling a span of like 20 minutes.
but if you do like, in my view, if she's doing the goofy performance, then they're like, oh, that's not really what we're going for. Or we want like, Abby's supposed to be, or not Abby, Ellie's supposed to be really serious right now, and so like you got to be wrathful and vengeful. Like I don't think that she's giving you that performance.
She gave it a couple
The goofy.
times, but like that was it.
Yeah, but to me, like, yeah, that's direction.
It's
You either
direction.
tell her, like, yeah,
Ellie was
if
fucking
she's,
a miserable character to be around in part two, um, understandably, but she wasn't that on the TV show. Like she's she's a fun hang, and it didn't make sense based on what she had just gone through.
yeah, but it's more than, I mean, like I said, like you said, like, I think there's some, I think there's some actual criticism to be had with the portrayal of Ellie
Yeah,
on the show. Um, but there's a lot of like shitty people saying shitty things on
yeah.
the
There's
internet.
the shitty people talking about her looks and things like that,
Yeah,
and fuck that. That like the character doesn't have to look the same as the character on the video game. Um,
right. Hence, Pedro Pascal as
yeah,
Joel, and
countless examples from this television
yeah,
show.
there's so many
Um,
characters on that don't mirror their character on the show, so, or on the game. So,
yeah,
but yes, yeah, I agree. There's definitely some valid criticism there.
who'd you think was the MVP of the season?
Um,
Since we're talking about performances,
maybe uh, maybe Isabella.
Isabella Merced
Yeah,
as
maybe as Dina.
Dina. All right, well, we're in agreement. So that makes this little bullet point easy to talk about. Why do you think she was the MVP?
When I think back at moments that really hit well for me, I mean, I thought she, like, one of the standout moments for her was the take on me was just, I thought, pretty standout. I thought she showed like a lot of emotion and
Yeah,
expression just through like not really saying much. Um, I thought when she thought Ellie was infected, that was a pretty good highlight for her too, of just being scared. She's had a lot of stuff,
she had a
showed
lot
a
of
lot of different,
she had a lot of
yeah,
range with that
she had a lot of
performance.
different, per, yeah. This part of it is the script kind of gave her a lot of different shows a lot of different ranges of emotion, from being in love to being fun and flirty to thinking you're gonna have to kill somebody that you love, to falling in love. It was just like kind of all over the place. finding out you're pregnant or revealing to people you're pregnant. I thought she just did a great job, and she's. I know we both kind of talked about how that she, her, and I guess probably some of the way they wrote her as well. Like they just made Dina a lot better. Like that was one of the improvements when they, as far as changes they made from the game, is Dina became a lot more interesting and integral of a character.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, if I'm gonna like bash the writing in one aspect, I have to acknowledge the fact that I thought she was a much more interesting character um, in this TV show than in the video game. Like as a scene partner for Ellie, she's the predominant scene partner for Ellie in Seattle, and she spent a lot more time with her in Seattle in the TV show than in the video game, and she more than like lived up to it. Like you're taking Pedro out of the equation. You need to give Ellie a new scene partner. Um, she, I mean, she's not Pedro Pascal, but she more than carried her weight for having to take on this tall task. Because yeah, I mean, it's Ellie's show, it's Bella Ramsey's show, but I mean, she was her essentially Bella Ramsey's, or she was the Ellie to Joel in season one, and she knocked it out of the park.
yeah, I mean, what's kind of weird now that I'm thinking about it is I kind of like I like Dina better than Ellie in the show. Like,
Yes, I do too, and it's weird.
she's
Um,
like I wouldn't. If Dina was like the star, I think I'd be like enjoying it more.
no, like Dina had some good moments. She had some good moments in the video game, but like if she was just, it was just very nice seeing her on screen. Like she's just like great personality. Love to be around her. Um,
Yeah, it's just like
and it wasn't like she was all light and like comedic and stuff. Like you said, she showed crazy like she had to show all different types of emotions and display various abilities in her acting arsenal. So
yeah. It got me
yeah,
excited at the very least for the new Superman movie and seeing her performances.
yeah,
Um,
I'll have to
you
be
know
a step.
that and
I'll have to be a step up from
DC.
Madam Web for her in the superhero universe.
Yeah, it has to be. Um, but yeah, she was good. I mean, like you said, lots of good guest stars.
Yeah, we had.
Um,
Yep. Yeah, I
were you
mean
about to go down the list?
we. Yeah, I mean I was just gonna throw out names. I mean Caitlin Dever right at the top. Incredible presence as Abby. We've talked about Jeffrey Wright. I mean, he was actually in the video game as Isaac. He's already blown away his video game performance, in my opinion,
Yeah,
which awesome. But again, should it have been in this season? Probably not. I could be wrong when season three comes out. We shall see. Catherine O'Hara. Weird seeing her in a dramatic role because it only happens so often. We're used to her in outlandish comedies, but she killed it in her scenes, particularly her scenes with Pedro Pascal. We have Tony Dalton, who people know from either Better Call Saul or Hawkeye, uh, playing Joel's father. Um,
great choice for his
yeah,
father.
totally. And
I
again,
didn't
one of
think
those.
about it, and then when I saw it, when they showed him, I was like, "Oh yeah, I love that choice."
Yeah, and like it's one of those original scenes of like something brand new, not in the video game. Totally worked. Um, incredible. Uh, Joe Pantoliano as Eugene, mentioned in the video game. He's Gail's husband. Um, did some
Yep.
solid work in only a couple scenes.
Yep.
Uh, Everyone who we saw in Seattle, as far as the people in the WLF, I thought gave strong performances. Even Josh Peck, I enjoyed as the Fedra soldier. I know, I think you thought he was a little
It's
too.
just like I just see Josh Peck, so it's like he doesn't blend in for me. He's like, okay, cool, this is Josh Peck. Like
Yeah,
pretending to be a Fedra soldier.
yeah. And then we both thought really highly of the actress who played Mel. Um, and then
Yeah, she was
you,
good.
I know you shouted out Nora to me previously that you liked her performance. She'll be continue to be in the Naughty Dog family as the protagonist of their new video game.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. I that was a didn't linger as long as I think it should have, but that wasn't her fault. Um,
And
and
we will get more from these actors next season because if we're doing a POV change, we need to work any character that's was dead in Seattle is
alive
allowed
again.
to be alive again. Um,
Yeah,
for however
if
long they were
you
alive in Seattle during season two.
if you were like, man, Owen didn't really get any chance to do anything. I
Yeah.
mean, he'll definitely get a lot more to do next season.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Same with Danny Ramirez's Manny,
just like absent
who
the
really,
entire
yeah, really
second
wasn't shown
season.
at all once I think you saw him in the first scene when they get to Seattle, and like was the last scene of one of the episodes with him, and then you haven't seen him since then.
He
Either
was too
episode
busy
3 or 4.
hanging out with Captain America in the
Yeah,
new Disney movie,
exactly.
flying around.
He was over in DC, but he'll make his way back to Seattle eventually.
Um,
Uh,
Pedro, I thought, crushed it in
Pedro was
his
practically a
performance.
guest star. So yeah, Pedro close to being the MVP despite only being in 3 episodes.
Yeah, yeah, I thought about him
Oh, so did
too.
I.
I was like,
He was my number two.
I
Um,
think he would probably would have my number two as well. Yeah, he crushed it in his performances. Um,
uh, yeah, I mean, obviously he dies in the second episode. They bring him back in a big way in episode 6, which dealt with all the flashbacks. Um, that was my personal favorite episode of the season. What did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I like the idea of showing the progression of the relationship over the birthdays.
I thought that,
There
yeah, I
was
thought
something,
it was a nice narrative device for the various flashbacks.
and we talked about the opening of the episode with Joel as a kid, with Tommy.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if it was like it needed to linger a little bit more. I just wanted to I wanted it to hit more for me emotionally than it did, and I'm not sure what they did wrong to not make me feel that way. But I wanted that to be my
I
favorite
mean, I can
episode.
tell you what they did wrong. They did it only 3 weeks after he died.
Yeah,
It would have
I
hit
just
harder later.
I think, and this is the part about being a gamer that may be different for non-gamer viewers, but like seeing the Joel flashback stuff when they showed in the game, like hit hard,
Hmm.
and so I wanted to feel that when they did it in this, and it didn't hit as hard.
Do you think it would have
Um,
worked better if they had spread out the flashbacks over the season? Or would that even been worse? Because then you're seeing Joel like Pedro an episode after he died, essentially. Or let's say the most 2 episodes after he's died.
I don't know. I don't know what they could have done to make that hit. I mean, like you said, maybe if it's like next or God, I don't even know what season they would show it
I
in. I
mean,
don't know if like
because
season.
they're yeah, I mean they talk about it like it's probably gonna be 4 seasons, um, over like
But
3 seasons for this adaptation.
it's a flashback, so they could have filmed it and not used it.
Yes, they, in my opinion, despite it being my favorite episode, they bungled the last flashback. Um, I think they should have held the porch scene for towards like the end of the show. Again, I don't know what they're planning on. They're clearly making changes because this is a scene
Yeah.
that takes place towards the end of the video game. While meanwhile, it's in the speed run version of Ellie's section in this first of 3 season adaptation of the video game. Um, but yeah, I think it would have hit harder had it been Like, they're not giving the audience enough credit. If you do that flashback 4 years later, the patience that your audience would have had to see that they actually like tried to heal that relationship the day before he died would have been so much more impactful
Yeah.
than doing it only 3 weeks later or
Yeah, I
four
think you're
weeks,
probably
4 weeks
right.
later.
I think that's what kind of held the episode back for me. Otherwise, I thought it was a fantastic episode. It's definitely like on the it's definitely the top on the top part of my what's kind of weird for me is not weird for me. Everyone so that's like kind of the hands down favorite episode from what I've been seeing online.
Yeah, I've been seeing two episodes. People going
Yeah.
between either Joel's death or flashbacks with Joel. What was your favorite?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think of that before we started this episode. I really I really think 2 is a really standout episode, especially like, I thought they delivered on the Joel death. Which to me was the part that I thought they had to get the most right um, going into the season. But I think it might be the first day in Seattle episode, um, where I think you had some really good moments with Dina and Ellie.
Yeah,
The take on me, I thought was ripped right from the game and fantastic. I mentioned it as a highlight performance from Isabella Merced. So I don't know. There's something about that episode that it hit with me more emotionally than I would say um, some of the other episodes. But I
yeah. I think I'd actually put that two for me for this season, and then the
yeah,
Joel death being third.
which was a strong episode. I mean, all three of those. I enjoyed all three of those episodes. I thought they were all good episodes. I think if the rest of the season was as close in quality to those three episodes, we'd be raving about how they knocked it out of the park.
It
Um,
it's the finale. They and that's what they left us on, and that's what our negativity is based on,
yeah, you're probably right.
largely, largely. And then clearly their storytelling, the changes that they made that like kind of have made us look at it in a negative light now, which maybe will change over time. Um,
I hope it does. I
Particularly
mean,
when the next season airs.
yeah, I hope it does. I don't like being negative on a show. I mean, it doesn't feel good to be talking about, being a little bit disappointed. If it's a lot more fun when we're talking about how much we love something. At least I
Yeah.
think it's more fun.
Oh, it's way more
Um,
fun.
so I kind of wish that's what the conversation we were having, but yeah, it's disappointing. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just like feels like if they kind of changed some things and maybe gave us another couple episodes, like it could have been really good.
It's the episodes and the pacing because
Yeah,
if you think about it, I think we both agree that they ended the season where at the logical point to end the season. Do you agree with
yep,
that? Yeah, like the perspective change from
yeah. If you're doing the perspective change, like that makes sense to end it there.
it's just they did not give the stuff before the perspective chance room to breathe, and we should have known that they never were going to have the room to breathe when we saw it was only going to be 7 episodes. Um, but at that point, we didn't necessarily know when they were how the game was going to the adaptation of the game was going to play out. But we should have, I guess, realized probably around episode 5 that okay, this season is going to end exactly where we like. It makes sense for it to end.
Yeah, I remember like us talking or messaging or something, and you were like, when you were like, you're like, you were trying to figure out where they were going with the season, and I remember saying to you like, well, just remember like they fucked up the pacing in the first season,
Yeah,
so this could be they may not be following the logical choices here on how they're gonna set out the the rest of the season. Unfortunately, like yeah, it doesn't seem like they learned their pacing issue. They learned their pacing mistakes, and I think it's.
No.
I kind of wish, and I've talked to you or messaged you about this before, but I kind of wish they would just get someone that understands like the TV medium a little bit more. I know Craig did but it wasn't really the same. The Chernobyl,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
that
it's a
was
mini
kind of like
series, so it's a different type of beast.
yeah, and it was kind of it's kind of more like a long movie, whereas this it should probably feel more like a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, you
Um,
can say like they could have pitched Last of Us basically like a limited series to Pedro Pascal to get him because like you're doing season one, like if we do make a season two, you're dying immediately. So like this isn't like a you're not signing on for this long television project, um,
yep.
and that's why season one works better, even though season one has pacing issues.
Yeah,
You
because
got
it's much.
the complete story, um, but yeah, I mean, again, had pacing issues, but for the most part, it worked.
Yeah, and I could easily, and that still has my favorite episode of both seasons is season one.
Bill and Frank,
Yeah.
which is thing that was not in the game. So it's weird that they are so hit and miss with with changes, deviations they make from from the game, completely brand new things that aren't in the game, and then things they directly adapt from the game. They're hit and miss on all three of those.
Yeah, it's weird to me that this like, and it's probably one of the things that screwed up the pacing was this bottle episode with Bill and Frank. But, um, yeah, just to me that was just like fantastic television. That
Yeah,
was,
no, it's the best episode of the show so far. So
yeah,
it's very strange. With they hopefully they can do more of that in season three. Because what are you in season three? Well, here's what I'm hoping. If you're doing 4 seasons, I want a long season three that gives us a long period of time focusing on the 3 days in Seattle from Abby's perspective. I want deep dives into the wolves, deep dives into the Seraphites. I want side stories. I want background
you're not
flashbacks with
getting any of
Abby.
that.
I want all of that.
You're
For
not getting
season
any of
three.
that.
You could do little bits with people from Jackson that are. You can bring Jesse and Tommy and show their time in Seattle, looking for
So
Ellie
that
and stuff.
you just inadvertently, or not maybe not inadvertently, but you just raised a good point while you were just going on when you were just talking about your fantasy world season. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons they could have showed Abby's perspective, even while we were in Ellie's point of view, is probably so they could do the same thing next season with Ellie. So you kind of raised a good point of like, if they've committed fully to the perspective thing, like we wouldn't really get Ellie.
Yeah, they're definitely going to give us some Bella Ramsey. But yeah, no, that's what I want. We got 2 seasons of Bella Ramsey. They need to give us a full season of Caitlin Deaver. Because if you're going to have audiences, expect audiences to look at Abby the same way as they look at Ellie, then you need to give her a full season of television.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they don't actually need to do that already because people have already turned on Bella Ramsey and are already like pro Abby. So I guess you could end the show next season if they want to. But then if you do end the show next season, it absolutely has to be like at least 10 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a lot of chatter about apparently Craig Mason's been acting like there's going to be they're going to tell it over.
He said
another 2 seasons.
Craig Mason says it's not possible to end in 3 seasons, that it's going to need a longer season 3 and it's going to need a season 4 in order to finish it. So if you're giving us your longer season 3, Craig Mason, I want it to go. It end basically the same way season 2 ended, in the theater in Seattle at the end of day 3, picking up at that ridiculously stupid cliffhanger that you left us with a gunshot when we know you are not killing Ellie.
So Is season 4 just going to be really short? Like, is there a whole lot to do after that?
I season 4 they can do. They can obviously we're not going to spoil the video game, but I think you can add some story, um, and you could do like a 6 episode season. There's
Yeah.
certainly there's it probably. I mean, if you look at the game, it's probably 2 to 3 episodes max based on what's in the
Yeah.
game. They can definitely expand based on their history of expanding on things, moving branches stuff. But
Yeah.
again, I don't know where he plans on cutting season 3. Um,
You got to cut
so
at the theater.
you
It
got to
doesn't
cut
make
it theater. You
sense.
got to
It
cut
doesn't
it
make
theater.
sense anywhere else. Yeah.
And you need to show what happens in the theater. You can't just cut it with like Abby getting to danger, where it
Gunshot black.
oh, that would be so absurd and could turn off so many people. And on the same cliffhanger. Oh man.
You ultimately have to wait 6 years to figure out what happened with the gunshot.
That's their concern, that nobody would find out what happens with that gunshot over seasons. Why aren't they concerned about that? But they would look up Abby's history. Yeah, no, they have to show it can end when the theater scene ends. You will see
Yes.
where everyone stands at the end of the theater.
Yeah.
No ambiguity. And then off to season 3, where it's essentially a long epilogue, which is essentially what that last 15% of the game is. But yeah,
Yep, I agree with that.
that's kind of what I'm hoping for seasons 3 and 4. If we're doing the 4 seasons, which seems to be the case.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously, it's clear we both like season 1 more than season 2. This part 2 adaptation can improve because we do still have a lot more story to see play out. But yeah, right now the part 2 video game is kind of blowing this in the water for me, at least. You haven't played the video game since 2020. I played it a second time last fall.
Yeah, I'll probably play
replaying
it.
part 1.
I'll probably play it in between the two
So
seasons, just to kind of
yeah.
like refresh my recollection on all that type of stuff.
Yeah, because we've definitely had conversations where I'm like, I think you're misremembering certain things.
Yeah.
Or you've even said it yourself that your memory's a little hazy on it.
Yeah, I mean I played the game like over 4 years ago at this point, so
Yeah,
I think
it's 5 years ago this summer, this June,
There you
this
go.
month.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's been a while.
But yeah, I mean, from what I remember liking the second game more as well than what I've seen so far, and then going into season 3, and for the season 3 reaction, I'll have played the game more recently and be able to do a better comparison.
And I can say from like my second playthrough, Abby's story is way more compelling, her POV. So I'm very excited for season 3 still, despite my negativity throughout this episode. It's just like the first playthrough, I was way more invested in Ellie's story, and this didn't live up to either playthrough. Because again, it felt like a speed run. It didn't feel like we just watched like 40% of a video game, which was really like Ellie's part of the story.
Yeah, so Craig Mazin, if you're listening, slow it the fuck down for season 3 and give us more episodes. I think that's kind of our big critiques.
Preferably, we get this in the first half of 2027. There's not dual strikes going on this time. There is no reason why we should now just settle for having to wait 2 years for every season of television. It's ridiculous.
It's getting ridiculous. Yeah, episodes are getting shorter and the wait's getting longer.
Yeah, there's no reason for it. They just know that we're used to it now, and they think they can just continue to get away with it. And they can, because we'll still watch. But I guess it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's making me less interested. I mean, we're starting to kind of go off of not necessarily Last of Us, but
We're
yeah, I
passionate
mean,
though now. We're heated.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a disservice to the show and kind of causes people to lose interest by making there be such a large gap. Like my excitement for like House of the Dragon, I'm just like it's kind of down just knowing I have to wait
Yeah, no, and
so long for
just
yeah.
it's just BS. I mean, go prior to 2020, we were not wait. It was year and a half was kind of like a rarity to 2 years.
It was like Westworld was the only one that was like doing that shit, and we were making fun of it.
Yeah,
So
like Game of Thrones only once had longer than a 1 year gap. Um, so this isn't normal. Uh, and COVID is done. Strikes are done. So
yeah,
we should
so
be
we're telling
more on
you,
that. Yeah, 12 to
we're
18
telling
months.
yeah, Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin,
Hurry up while also slowing down your
yeah,
storytelling. Hurry up telling your hurry up writing your slow down storytelling.
HBO Max. If you're now that you've got your HBO back in your name, like let's speed shit up.
Yes. All
So
right.
yeah, I
I
mean
think we
that's
got
kind
it.
of our thoughts. Yep, that's our thoughts on Last of Us season 2.
At least we're
A little
passionate about it
bit,
still. I,
yeah.
I was
Not
still super excited every single Sunday. I'm still excited talking about it.
yeah, no,
Um,
it was appointment television, which is nice because I don't have a lot of shows that I feel that way about. So
exactly.
um, yeah,
All right. So yeah, you heard it here, Craig Mason. Doug and Murph have told you what to do. So do it. All right. Let's talk box office, and then we will wrap this thing up. Um,
sounds good.
we've got the box office numbers through Sunday, June 1st. So it's really coverage for May. And we've got all the movies that we've drafted. Doug, you are currently up on me 420 million to 305 million. You have had four movies released. I've had two released, but it is deceiving and more positive on your way. Your four movies were Final Destination: Bloodlines, Lilo and Stitch, Bring Her Back, and Karate Kid Legends. My two movies were Thunderbolts and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So I would say it's misleading in the fact that you only have a $115 million lead, despite having two more movies having come out, but very different. Thunderbolts, basically, its entire box office is done at this point. Um, Final Destination Bloodlines was a massive overperformer for you. Kudos on that draft pick. I think you drafted around 11, and it is killing it with over $100 million already. Still going strong. And Lilo and Stitch has a crap ton of money left in the tank for it. Um, Bring Her Back doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be a movie that has amazing legs. I'm more positive about its legs, chance for legs, than you are.
Yeah,
We both saw it this past weekend. It is a grim horror movie, but it's got a solid cinema score, so the people are getting what they wanted from it, because that's basically what cinema score is telling you. If it's a high cinema score, audiences got what they were looking for. Um,
uh, yeah. Just having seen it and watching horrible things happen to children, I just like, and
yeah,
then like,
it's unsettling for sure.
there's nothing like fun about the movie, uh, and it just kind of ends, and it's like things are sad, people are sad. This is a sad ending.
Yeah,
I have a hard time thinking that the word of mouth is going to be like super great on this one or that it's going to have any sort of broad appeal. So that's kind of the reason why I'm negative on it.
that's fair. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like making monster numbers after its opening weekend. Like, I think it's, I think I said to you today, like 30, 40 million tops, like somewhere in that range. Like, what did Talk to Me do? 50? It was something,
something
or it was
something like
something
that.
around that. It only opened with a couple
Although
$1 million more. Um,
although I don't want to, yeah, but the word of mouth on Talk to Me was really good,
yeah.
and that movie plays more to a broader audience.
Hmm.
I mean, there's going to be a Talk to Me too. Like
Yeah.
that's how, and the Talk to Me two is going to probably make double. Like it's
I
probably
mean,
going to make $100 million.
it'll definitely have a bigger opening weekend than the first
Yeah,
one.
that movie's going to make good money. So I was kind of hoping for like something that built off of Talk
You
to Me.
wanted a spiritual sequel to Talk to Me, and you did not get that.
Yeah, or just like a horror movie that was just as good, or just as appealing to audiences. And yeah, this definitely wasn't that. I agreed that the trailer looked dark, and I understood your pessimism for it because of the trailer, but I was kind of hoping that it wasn't quite as dark.
Yeah.
So I
Um,
mean, it is what
hey,
it is. It was the
it
last
was your last
pick.
pick of the draft.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
your
I
first pick
do
of
you
the
know
draft, absolutely the number one pick. I don't see anything topping Lilo and Stitch this summer. Should be a nice $500 million movie for you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with how Lilo and Stitch performed. Obviously, I've got to be on my guard because you still have your number one movie with Jurassic Park left. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm expecting Jurassic World to do probably what
World,
Lilo and
sorry.
Stitch, like total what Lilo and Stitch does in its first 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at max, um, or 3 weekends at max. Because I mean, it's at
We'll see.
278 million already, or 279 already. So
Can't count
um,
those dinosaurs out though. That fucking franchise
yeah,
just finds a way to make money. So, like,
and
life
then
finds a way. Jurassic Park finds a way at the box office.
yeah, no, that's true. Then you had Karate Kids Legends, which I thought I might have whiffed in the same way I whiffed not catching that Final Destination was going to be massive. Um, like Karate Kid Legends, kind of disappointed over its opening weekend with like a sub 20 million opening, or right around 20
Yeah,
million.
I read the tea leaves on Final Destination. Karate Kid, I was just going off of prior box office for the last Karate Kid movie,
Yeah,
which was a mistake.
yeah, and I
Uh,
mean I should have looked more at the box office for the Final Destination movies and the last Karate Kid movie, because when you brought up how much the last Karate Kid movie made, I was like, wait, it did? Holy shit, I forgot how bad the summer of 2010 was and how much that movie overperformed. Um,
yeah, and I read that as there being like a love for Karate Kid at the box office, which was not the right read on that box office performance.
yeah,
So I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that was. I definitely had messaged you. I would definitely wish I would have taken Freakier Friday instead.
yeah, I'm still happy I got that movie at the end of the summer. But yeah, and then as for myself, like I said, Thunderbolts, basically or the new Avengers. Spoiler alert. I mean, it's yeah, you should have seen the movie by now. It's everywhere.
AMC's spoiled it like
Yeah, by
week
the
two.
after opening weekend. Um, it's at 182 million now. Doesn't have much more in the tank. And around 190 at most. Um, what does that make you think as far as Fantastic Four? I've been hearing negative things from test screenings. Um,
I'm not worried about it. I think Fantastic Four's got a lot higher upside than Thunderbolts. So
why are
I'm
we
still
so high
feeling
on
good.
Fantastic Four based on its box office history?
I just think it's just the implications for the MCU are going to get audiences to come out for it.
Do you think the delay of Doomsday is going to make people less excited and not no Hall H panel
No,
this
I
year?
think people are looking for like a sign of where the Avengers are going to go, and I think it's going to. I think people are going to be interested. I mean, I tend to over,
You have been overestimating Marvel for so long now.
but I think Fantastic Four has a lot more potential than Thunderbolts. I've
It
always
does. It
did
does.
just
It always did. You're right.
just because of it has just much bigger implications for the MCU. It's characters we haven't seen before. It'll likely feed directly into Doomsday. Probably be a Robert Downey Jr. cameo. as Doctor Doom potentially. So I think it's just gonna get the fanboys out, and it's gonna be a movie that I think they finally feel like they need
So
to go and see.
MCU won't us. Well, so you do you see this as an MCU event film or like a MCU fanboy only film, or
I think it's
somewhere in
gonna
the
be
middle?
probably in the middle.
Okay,
I think it'll get all the fanboys out
because it
that
will
maybe.
opening week. It will opening weekend. I just don't know what'll happen after that.
Yeah, I think it'll get all the fanboys out, and then I think it'll also have a broader appeal just because of like people like Pedro Pascal. They're
Yeah,
sad that they lost him in Last of Us, and now they want to
I'm
see him
pissed I didn't
again.
draft Materialists. I'm like, this movie's gonna end up in the top 20 this summer for sure. I'm pretty bummed I didn't draft that. I know I also was like, oh, maybe I should have drafted Friendship, which has done good, well for an indie movie, but definitely isn't making the top 20. Um, but yeah, I think Materialist has a shot at making a good amount of money in June. And then, yeah, I have Mission Impossible, which is basically performing like a Mission Impossible movie, which was kind of my worst case, or my it was what I thought would be worst case scenario, or most realistic scenario. I would say would be performing like a Mission Impossible movie. It's going to make
Yeah,
200 little low 200s. But yeah, Mission Impossible obviously making significantly less money than Lilo and Stitch. The only thing I have going for me so far is that you didn't have a great weekend with Bring Her Back and Karate Kid Legends. Um, the fact that I'm only down by 115 is I'm looking at as like a semi positive, but you have a lot more heavy hitters in the tank than I do. Um,
yeah.
I
It
think,
just depends if Superman and Fantastic Four can do well.
yeah, and then I mean F1 could potentially break out. Ilio could be a solid Pixar movie. Um, the Bad Guys 2 could do the regular DreamWorks business, and Weapons could potentially be the horror breakout. I mean, you got a lot going for you. I need basically everything to go right with my movies, and I don't see that happening. Smurfs looks absolutely terrible, based on the trailer that I finally have seen. Um, I wish I just picked anything other than that, just because I'm embarrassed to have that as one of my movies. Um,
I couldn't pick it just because I was like, I can't support this movie.
yeah, no, like it just looks bad. But yeah, maybe hopefully Ballerina does solid this week and gets the John Wick crowd. Um, How to Train Your Dragon, obviously, that was
I think that'll be
my
big.
one of my top picks. Or I guess it was my second pick. So I
Yeah,
think that'll be big. I think 28 Years Later is going to do good business. Megan 2.0, I'm not so sure on anymore. Although it does get the pre AMC ad that Lilo and Stitch previously had and Wicked had. So I do like that
yep.
people are forced to see that no matter what movie they see. Um, Jurassic World, I think will do the 300 at least. Maybe they can make it break out more somehow with the cast. I think they should probably highlight Mahershala Ali more. Um, I know what you did last summer. Still feeling like that'll do decent. Smurfs, and not confident in, and Freakier Friday. Freakier Friday, I would like to like really break out. That would be nice. But I think you are going to kick my ass still based on this first month. Um, I'm glad that you had the number one pick because I wasn't going to take Lilo and Stitch, and I would look like a fool in retrospect. So I'm glad you're at least beating me, and I'm not looking like a complete fool. But yeah,
Yeah,
not taking Fantastic Four and Superman, I think, is going to also really kill me. Um,
we'll see. I mean,
those
I
I just
like How to Train Your Dragon a lot, so we'll see.
yeah, and I'm starting to like be pretty hyped for Superman. Um,
Yeah, last
so
trailer was good. Although people are still talking about reshoots, and I'm like, and a
I know
changing of cuts
they
and
cut
stuff.
like
But I'm
20
like, how much is
minutes in
this?
the
I don't even know how much of this is true anymore, and how much is just like,
yeah, just trying to build that
but
buzz.
yeah,
So
just like
yeah,
the Fantastic Four screenings. Like, I don't know how much of that's
exactly.
real.
Yeah, but yeah, I still don't know which is going to be bigger of those two. So it was like such a hard decision to make, and I was a wimp and just didn't want to make the decision, so I deferred to you.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm glad I could just not have to choose either, and I was just like, okay, I got 'em both.
yeah, you really surprised me with that Lilo pick at number one, but oh well. All right, that
We'll
covers
see.
June. So yeah, well, next time we do an episode, we should be able to talk about a bunch more of the movies we drafted. Probably Ballerina, How to Train Your Dragon, 28 Years Later, LAO,
Yep.
maybe, most of the June movies. Maybe Megan 2.0 and F1 as well. But yeah, that's a wrap for today. Again, for more new content, check out our yearly film series segment for 2022 exclusively on YouTube. It does feature Corey's last official pick in our yearly film series. And we made honorary ones for him in 2023 and 2024 based on what we know he liked that he saw. And yeah, we hope you enjoy it with our guest co-host on these segments, Kate, Corey's fiance. So to wrap it up, this has been Doug and Murph at Live Breathe Film, signing off.